Story is told of a Russian army unit one dark night in the middle of a big war. The Russian soldiers decided enough is enough. They have to take a break. And they all came together. They decided that after the supervisor of the camp is deep in sleep, they're gonna go and sneak out of the camp. And they're gonna go to this bar, which is a 10-minute walk across the fields. And they're gonna drink and drink and drink and be happy and finally bring some joy and light into their life. And they called the time 12 o'clock at night. They got together. They decided they're leaving. One by one they slipped out of the camp and they made their way to the bar, to the inn. After 10 minutes they all arrive at the inn unnoticed, or so they thought that it was unnoticed. To their misfortune, walking by at that time was no one other than the Czar of Russia himself. He wanted to see how his soldiers are behaving. He dressed up in simple clothes and he was walking around exactly in that area. And he's watching in disbelief how he sees hundreds of soldiers abandoning their army camp and making their way to a bar to drink. And he rubs his eyes in disbelief as he sees what unfolds later. The Russian soldiers in the bar begin to drink, and then they begin to do all these immoral things, fight with each other, break the chairs, beat each other up, throw up, and finally, after a good few hours of making themselves in ganzen meshuga, making themselves entirely crazy, the Russian soldiers decided to make their way back to camp. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it back to the camp. They were all so drunk and so intoxicated that they began falling one by one as they tried making their way. And the whole way from the bar all the way to the camp was littered, was full of Russian soldiers' bodies, drunk and on the floor. And obviously this did not make the Tsar too happy. The next day the Tsar appears at the front door of the camp and he barks, "Line up! I want to see every single soldier lining up!" And the soldiers all stand in fear and in awe in front of the leader of Russia, and everyone is trembling because they have a little sneaky suspicion that maybe their secret was revealed and maybe the Tsar saw them. And the Tsar did not let them have a suspicion for too long. He right away began announcing names. Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so. Lashes, lashes, lashes. And he began calling the names of everyone in the unit. But then he came to two names. Two soldiers that were also part of this breakaway. And he said, "Mr. Igor and Mr. Ivan, both of you, you're both getting medals." And everyone is in total shock. No one could understand. Mr. Ivan and Igor, they were with us the whole time. They were doing everything wrong, just like we were doing. And the Tsar continues and he says, "I know that you're wondering why Ivan and Igor deserve a medal. I'll explain to you. All of you soldiers think that the reason I'm punishing you is because you left the camp yesterday and you got drunk. You are all wrong. That's not the reason I'm punishing you. Actually, what happened is, last night after everyone passed out, I went to everyone's bodies and I noticed something horrifying. I noticed that every single soldier was lying down and their feet were facing towards the bar, towards the inn. And I understand that they're saying that when we wake up, we really wish we could go back to the bar. That's where our feet are facing. And that's what really bothers me. And that's why you're getting punished. There's only two soldiers who, when I examined their shoes, I examined their boots were facing towards the camp. And that is Mr. Ivan and Mr. Igor. And therefore they deserve a reward because even in their hardest times, even when they're struggling, even when they know they're doing things wrong, where are their feet facing? Where do they want to be? Where do they strive to be? Despite their failures, they're striving to be back where they're supposed to be, back in the camp. And that's why they get their reward. And from here is a very powerful lesson each one of us could learn and derive. That even in times when we fail, just the fact that the person has his shoes in the right direction, and just the fact that the person is striving to be in the right direction, that itself is a very positive behavior and something which will make a person grow and get very far in life.